The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a massively auspicious day because this is episode 200 of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author. Thank you so much for listening and sticking with us and enjoying everything that Florida's craft beer scene has to offer. It's definitely had its ups and downs since episode 1 of the Florida Beer Podcast. And none more so than the podcast itself. And I definitely do not recommend listening to the first maybe 20 episodes because it's definitely not good. I do want to thank Jemmy Legagneur and the team at Flintstone Media for helping out and taking a chance and helping to really grow what this podcast was and is and will continue to be. So it's definitely time for a celebration. And that's where we're going to go, is Celebration, Florida, with Celebration Brewing, which is a fantastic brew pub just on the outskirts of Celebration. If you're familiar with World Drive, and if you've ever made the main drive into Walt Disney World, you know World Drive because that's World Drive. But if you turn around and you go the other way, that now dead ends into Celebration, Florida itself. And just to the right, you'll see Celebration Pointe, a massive strip mall anchored by Publix on one side, Walgreens on the other, a lot of wonderful shopping and dining places, and of course, Celebration Brewing. Now, this is a full-service brew pub, great kitchen, great beers, excellent service, and we went there with a very large group of people, and I've never seen service that fast. So it was amazing to see. Everybody was friendly. Everybody was kind, big smiles on their faces. And obviously nobody as excited or more excited than Frank Lozito. He is the founder and owner of Celebration Brewing. And as part of opening up, he decided to hire Kent Waugh as their head brewer. Kent's been around the Florida craft beer scene, Central Florida, specifically Orlando craft beer scene, for quite some time. And it was interesting to chat with both of them about not only Kent's experience being a Florida craft brewer, and obviously Frank's experience with opening the location in Celebration and exactly who that's going to attract, but some of the ups and downs and some of the surprising ways that they were able to succeed. So I'm not going to let this ramble on anymore. Let's chat with Frank and Kent from Celebration Brewing on this Florida Beer Podcast's 200th episode. We've got so much to talk about. We're going to pause on all of that. Can you please pronounce the beer that I'm having? I will put a picture of this can of this
glassware here.
Yeah,
yeah. Frank's so like I was gonna say, Frank's the name guru. I'm named out these days, so I've been doing it for so long.
Can you say it without looking at it?
No, I can't. I'm dyslexic, man. I can't say it without. So Frank came up with this name, and I'll introduce it as, because I used the hop selection I chose was Superdelic, Crush with a K, Cashmere, and Elena, and that maybe not in the right order. But then Frank came up with the name, so I'll let him say it properly.
The name of the beer is Superdelic Casualistic Crushalonadosis.
That's amazing. Which leads me to a completely different question. Orlando seems to love Cashmere hops.
Cashmere's a good hop, yeah.
Cashmere's a great hop.
Yeah. In the past, I've brewed a hazy with all cashmere before. But when I started formulating this recipe, I like to call it, I was looking up to see what's the cool kid hops, and I found Superdelic and Crush, and then I had to keep Cashmere up in there for sure. Yep.
That's amazing. So now that people have a little bit of a taste of exactly how much the big neighbor next door is going to be infiltrating the vibe that is Celebration
We
Brewing.
don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea what I'm talking about. Let's start all the way back to the beginning. Why Celebration?
I've lived here 26 years, and that's really the main driver behind it. I feel like, or felt like, that we needed a craft brewery in town. There's so many different restaurants in town, but we lacked that, that niche market. There was just, anytime you wanted to get beer, you have to go to Tampa or Orlando. And I'm like, well, let's change that.
And I was going to say, that's actually a good point, because it's not just Celebration that didn't have a brewery. I'm really trying to think of a brewery in Osceola County. There's plenty that are on like the outskirts, we're close to Claremont, but that's Lake County. They've got a couple. We're very close to some of the periphery of Orlando that has some. I know there's a
Where does Half Barrel fall? Is that, what county is that?
It's Orange County.
That's still Orange County, yeah. So where are we?
Yeah, Half Barrel's Orange.
brewery.
Yeah, because it's right
Orange.
across the street from Epic Universe.
Yeah.
So that is Orange County.
Yeah.
So I think we're the only brewery in Osceola County, which is a fun thing to say.
People start referring to us as the Disney brewery, since we are, 8 to 10 minutes away from basically any resort or park, which is really nice. And we're off of World Drive, which is super convenient. So it really works out. And I believe we are the only brewery in Osceola County. So,
but that has a whole different meaning to it, because I don't think that there's any sort of alcohol production of any kind, wine, beer, spirits, cider, or anything. So what was the process of getting that started? Because there is no town of Celebration. It's technically unincorporated Kissimmee. So who did you have to start with first?
it was easier than you would think. I mean, the original vision was to have it in a downtown Celebration area. There was just, the space was not available, and it was cost prohibitive if it was. This plaza that we're in right now is called Celebration Pointe. And so happened I was taking my son to school one day, high school, and I said, saw a sign up, this space available. So I called just a regular number, a leasing company called Unicor, and I said, what do you got? And they showed me a couple spaces, and then I went back to my manufacturer at the time to say, hey, what can we do in this size space? The original space we were looking at was only 1,700 square feet, which is in the same building we're at, but down the other end. Long story short, he said, you're not going to make money with a brewery at 1,700 square feet. So I said, okay, well, what are our options? He said, well, you need at least 3 times that. So the space that we're in now was an Italian restaurant. They pulled out, and I signed a letter of intent, and the rest is history.
Interesting, because it looks like there's still space that is under construction, still space that does not have tenants, but you were not the original tenant.
We were the original tenant here. The people that were supposed to have the space pulled out before it was built out.
How much did they build out, or were you still given carte blanche?
It wasn't built out. It was a pre-lease agreement type of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So there was nothing here. This was
Frank's been
this was
here
dirt.
since-
I have pictures of this. Sadly, of dirt and pipes in the ground, and just drawings on the floor. So yeah.
Frank and his team have been at hard work at this for a long time. Pre-COVID, I got lucky. I came on board last January, so they did all the hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, we did sign right around COVID time, and that was, as you know, unfortunate for everybody. We had tremendous delays. We were supposed to open in 2021, hence the established 2021. That's when we were incorporated, but didn't wind up opening until 2024 due to issues with the plaza and purchasing of electrical equipment. That was really the main thing here. And without electricity, we couldn't do a lot of things in the building. We couldn't close up the walls until we passed inspections for, there's a sequence of events that need to occur. So it delayed almost 3 years.
Obviously, the difference of slapping a brewery on the backside comes with its own own hurdles as well, of course, opposed to just the restaurant. But they pulled it off, and we're set up for success at this point.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I've heard horror stories of people, luckily not in this county, but counties that are close by, to where the powers that be had a significant issue with them opening up, seeing as they were producing an alcohol, and of course assumed that this was going to be less like less like what it is and more like Roadhouse.
Yeah.
So what was that process
There
like?
were some agreements that we had to sign with some of the larger tenants in this plaza. So we had to sign an agreement saying that it was only our liquor that we were producing, as well as, beer, as well as beer that was purchased through a distributor and not competing with those other individuals.
Interesting. And this is coming from the tenants and not the landlord.
Coming from the landlord, but the tenants are big tenants, therefore they had exclusivity agreements in their lease.
I think I know who that tenant is. But that is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I guess, at what point was the pub concept brought in? Because obviously it sounded like you wanted to do the brewery first, but as we're taking a look, there's a massive, beautiful looking menu in front of us.
Thank you. Yeah, the food is phenomenal here. And as you know, and have you seen, unfortunately, a lot of breweries have shut down the past several years, not just in Florida, but all around the country. The idea was to make this a destination where you can get good food, good drinks, and just hang out. And there was nothing like this in town. And the fact is, we have a chef that's been in the business over 20 years. And so when we originally spoke to him, he was on board, and we tried to start the menu somewhat simple. We're just going to do like pizzas and wings and things like that. And of course, we've evolved now to burgers and salads and wraps, and which again, all good things because they're staple items. People have told us we have the best burger. People told us we have the best pretzels, best pizza, best a lot of things, which listeners will see in the coming months. We have one best of in some categories, which will come out shortly, but I cannot disclose as of yet.
Oh, that's a shame. I definitely go through the menu. It's like, I want this, I want this, I want this. And from a brewing standpoint, how much do you communicate with the chef in terms of what you have coming from your fermenters, and obviously the specials, like what you have sitting next to you?
Yeah,
how much communication is there?
We're excited to work together and do some specialty beer dinners, especially when we get a barrel aging program going here soon. Doing beer pairings. They've worked really hard on this menu, and we have great staples and specials. So as this year unfolds, the chef and I are excited to work together and come up with some cool ideas together. But I think the food is so quality, and as long as I'm producing good liquid on my side, they just match each other and they pair perfectly
Yeah, and
together.
some of the things that are existing on the menu, we do use our beer in a lot of the items on the menu. So our beer cheese, for example, that's made with our Pilsner.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, we've got mussels, which is kind of unique for a brewery. Again, made with our in-house beer. We had a dessert one time, which we were making the caramel with our stout. So, we're trying to incorporate the beer into all aspects of the menu.
That's amazing. Obviously, the natural next question would be the spent grain. Have you been able to communicate with them about that?
Yeah, we have a wonderful, happy to use this family. We work partnership with them, and I always say in the brewing industry, it's extremely important. We can't brew if farmer doesn't pick up the grain. So we have a great family that they had when I came on board, and definitely continue to use them. It benefits them, helps them out, but like I said, we can't brew unless they're getting that grain out here. It's not allowed to go in the dumpster by any means. And
got too much of it, I would
it
assume,
is
to start
hot,
with.
humid weather.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure you've smelled spent grains. It sits for 24 hours plus. It's we need it gone, and he shows up on time every time. We're very grateful for them.
That is kind of amazing. So when it comes to a lot of places, I notice that the beers sort of have a distinctive style because everybody sort of likes this style of beer. What was it like finding the beer or the styles that Celebration likes? Do you get a lot of people from Celebration itself? Are those mainly your regulars, or are you getting tourists?
That's a great question. We get both, actually. And ironically, during the day, we get a lot more tourists during the day, and the evenings we get more locals. The trending of the styles of beer vary on the day of the week. I know it's pretty crazy. So on a Wednesday, we'll sell more sours. Then on a Friday, more Pilsner. It's pretty interesting when you look at the data. But we do have a very eclectic menu. Again, we've got lagers, regular ales. We've got lots of different IPAs that Kent's worked on. And a Belgian. We got a Saison. A lot of breweries don't do those kind of beers.
It's funny. I was looking at the Saison. That's a style that just seems to have gone out of favor. Maybe 4 years ago, everybody had one.
Yeah.
You just needed to.
Yeah, this
And
is
it's just not
a
happening.
French Saison, traditional, using the coriander and orange peel on end of Whirlpool for that, and a traditional yeast for it. And in general, the lineup of beers, beer that tastes like beer. So covering everything from a light lager to the Pilsner, and then down to stouts and, like Frank said, the IPAs. But we're also having fun with different treatments and using quality ingredients for those treatments on our sour program. And
Such as this, let's see, what was I looking at? Oh, that's the Double Milkshake Blackberry IPA, though.
Oh, that's a fun beer. Yeah, we did that. We did a collaboration with our friends at 1010 Brewing in Orlando with that.
yeah, this was a fun one for our year anniversary. Dear friends with the crew over at 1010. Shout out to 1010. And we're all old now, so it's a fun little story. We coming up, what can we do? Well, we've all made a lot of great beers. We made beer that tastes like beer. We made some fun different things here and there. So Mike and I sat down with Greg as brewer, who I'm dear friends with these people. And Greg wasn't really on board for what Mike and I were coming up with. And we wanted to make Frank happy because he gave us a little umbrella of what he's into.
I like lactose in my beer.
Lactose in beer. And so we just started brainstorming, and we ended up with this crazy cool beer. I like to describe it as a blackberry vanilla cake / ice cream ale. But 3 44-pound bags of aseptic blackberry, 100 pounds of sugar, brown sugar, and a bunch of organic, beautiful vanilla. And that's what we came up. And the fun part is that it's at 9.5% ABV.
Dangerous.
It's dangerously consumable. Yeah.
Who does that resonate more with? Is that more the Celebration kids, or is that more the tourists that are coming in wanting something?
I see some older, traveled around craft beer guys who are down in those tulip glasses there, which is a great thing on the name too. That, of course, Frank came up with. Greg was like, we were like, he didn't want to do it. And we had these cool ideas and tricks that we like to use in beer. And so Frank came up. Old dog's new trick is what we ended up
Just
naming
one
that.
trick.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Old
That's
trick,
amazing.
not plural. Yeah, yeah.
That's
I would
hysterical.
say tricks.
Yeah, no, looking, because there's other, like Berliner Weiss. Nobody makes those anymore.
Yeah, we got a cool little program, and I'm so grateful that we have. So in the brew house, 10-barrel, 2-vessel brew house, we've got our 10-barrel conical fermenters. And the fun part is we have three 3-barrel conical fermenters and a 3-barrel bright tank, which is really fun. I've always wanted to put that in a brewery, but that was part of the plan here. So I can brew 10 barrels of Berliner Weiss. Generally, I'll do a traditional kettle sour on that, get the pH down, and then we split it into those 3-barrel conical fermenters and then move it over to the bright tank for different treatments. So, again, like I said earlier, using quality ingredients for these ideas, and we can just, the ideas are endless of what we can do with that Berliner Weiss base there. One example is the Dr.
A sly reference to a particular
soda company, but
I was going to go for Dr. Phillips.
Oh, there you go.
His name is Philip
there you
Phillips.
go. Yeah, okay.
It just tastes like a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
That I want.
But it's sour. Yeah.
So how much of this do you kind of feel is the growth of, I would assume, Central Florida? You take a look at Osceola and Orange and Lake all together, because clearly you're not in Tampa Bay.
Right.
It's far enough away to where it's sort of a different world.
Yeah.
How much of this do you see as a sort of natural progression of where the Central Florida beer scene is going? And do you see the Central Florida beer scene growing in popularity and strength as you've been through as long as you have?
Well, I think comparing it to Tampa is a great thing in the sense of they have pockets where you can walk to different breweries. And I've always said that Orlando, we're kind of spread out here. So a brew tour of our scene here is, you got to put a little work into it for the beer geek who wants to go check out every brewery. And we see lots of them. They're like, hey, we're just in town. Where should we go next? And, you got to travel a little bit to see us because we're not all in one spot. But seeing it thrive, like Frank said earlier, breweries open and close. But I think Orlando craft beer scene's here to stay, and we're so honored to be part of it and be in a location that can help longevity and stay here and keep this going for the whole city of Orlando.
With the places that you had been to, because clearly you'd been to a lot of these locations before you decided to open up Celebration Brewing. Were there a lot of locations that had this sort of similar feel? Were there a lot of places that you wanted to sort of emulate, or was this still a little bit outside the norm for what you have seen in the area?
As far as emulation from aesthetics, this is reminiscent of a Dead Words vibe, and is one of my favorite breweries before they shut down. As far as locations go, there's no place like Celebration. I've looked all around for space, and it's just not Celebration. I can open up a brewery for half the price down the road on 192, but it won't be Celebration Brewing. It'll be 192 Brewing.
And I was going to say, would that really be the right place for a brewery or brew pub concept?
No, this is the place.
That makes sense. And then with the places that you have worked here, not just because you used to work outside of Florida.
Yeah, back in the day in Colorado is where I got my start. Colorado holds a dear place in my heart, but Florida's done my wife and me and my family very well. We love it here. The quick story on that is when we first moved here, I was a stay-home dad for a little while, and I looked at opening a brewery, but I don't know how to write a business plan like Frank does. And back then, honestly, there was I only thought one brewery in town, Orlando Brewing. Our dear friend John Cheeks owned that. And I quickly realized there was another one. So while I was doing research to open my own little brewery, which never happened, but my wife and I were looking at job postings, and we saw this posting for, "Do you love craft beer and Mickey Mouse?" And I told my wife, I said, that's got to be fake. There's no way there's a brewery on the boardwalk at Disney. And well, come to find that was the second brewery in town at the time. And it was a late Friday night, threw a resume in from the Colorado Boulder Beer Days, and they emailed me on Sunday and offered me the job the following Monday. And it was just a wonderful thing. And full circle coming back around. Other breweries I've worked at around town, watching this whole craft beer scene grow. Disney was wonderful. I've never paid to go to Disney. I had main gate pass for working there, and Big River Grill was a wonderful time in my life. And that's just full circle around to Celebration, and having that Disney vibe again is just right up my alley. And brewing beer and meeting people from around the world at this location is it's just great.
Now, Big River Grill has been closed for a little while.
Big River Grill and Brewing Works. Yep.
Yes, but it is also not a Florida company. It was based in Kentucky, Tennessee, or so?
Chattanooga, Tennessee at the time, and I think that one's still there. It was a concept for Craftworks breweries and restaurants. They owned all kinds of different concept breweries. A1A over in
St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, Atlantic Beach, Raglan Road, where my at the time.
I didn't realize it was a Gordon Biersch restaurant then.
They owned Gordon Biersch's and Rock Bottoms too back then. Yeah. So it was that whole thing.
So knowing how many people, how many current brewers in Orlando in the Central Florida beer scene came out of Big River Grill, is it fair to say that that location had an influence on what Central Florida's craft beer scene is? Are they coming from other locations like you in Colorado? Or are we now at a point where Central Florida's craft beer scene is its own thing? It has its own vibe, its own feel, its own recipes, its own outlook.
I think, and you can speak as well, but I look at Kent as the Yoda, right, of brewing. Many of the brewers in town have worked with Kent. Kent has taught younger brewers. You look at some of these breweries that are around, I'll let him name the names, but they worked under Kent. And so was it Big River? Yes, maybe that was the meeting place for them. But I think the Central Florida vibe now comes from, that community and that sense of what Kent brings to the table.
And thank you for that. The foundation of Orlando Brewing and Big River Grill at the time being the only two breweries in this town, and now where we're at now are so many talented people and these younger guys coming up and working hard and being so creative to build this scene here is the backbone of what we have here in Orlando. Tampa has had that for a long time. St. Pete, all around that area has been pretty established, and everybody in town. I feel like we're all friends. We all help each other out, and watching that grow has just been an honor of being in the craft beer scene. And my start back in Colorado was seeing that beginning of that huge movement out there, but getting to watch that in this smaller town, being part of that scene and supporting people and the camaraderie we have is just, we'll never stop that. The camaraderie is what this business is built on.
People starting to ask you and grow because of what you've done here.
There have been a couple that have approached me, and the first piece of advice is don't do it. but after they get over that, then yeah, it's you hit the nail on the head. It's just like Kent said, just like the brewers, the owners are the same way. And so again, I've approached Bill from Sun Creek and Chris from Rock Pit, and all these guys just gave me invaluable advice before I opened. So
we talked to Chris at Tactical the other day, had some good advice for us as well.
Chris from Tactical, like all these
Chris
folks.
worked with me. Chris from Tactical worked with me at Crooked Can back in the day. And, so that seeing where they're at and what their creativity and what they're doing in that location in Baldwin Park, right? Like location.
Yeah.
They've got that luxury of that. So, we're all just here to support each other and give each other advice so we can keep building this.
The more breweries, the better. I mean, let's bring, like you said,
I love that statement. The more breweries, the better. Everyone that's out of the business asks, like, if another brewery opened in 2 miles from here, where we would welcome that.
Absolutely.
The more the better.
It's just going to bring more people here.
I would almost hate it because 2 miles is too far to walk.
Hey, right. Okay, cool. Right down by Publix there. Let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got to talk about the parks because if you think about Orlando and even with the Orlando Beer Week release that just happened not too long ago, it's obviously very park influenced.
Yeah.
Did you know that you wanted to make sly references to that, or was it something that you knew would be expected of you in both naming and in recipe?
From the naming standpoint, initially, no. Initially, it was supposed to be all Celebration, right? We were going to play on, our lager is called Lakeside Lager because we have a, lake downtown, and, we had a porter based on the street called Potsdam Porter. Like, I like alliteration in my names. So
the history of Celebration
and the history
more
of Celebration,
than the parks.
We have a water tower wheat, again, that kind of thing. The parks thing came about as we saw more of the guests coming from the parks, and I said, hey, let's have, these are kind of catchy names, like, again, We Wants the Redhead. People love it. It's great from not only is the beer great, but the marketing reference. I mean, I see people wearing my shirt at Magic Kingdom. It's awesome. Yeah.
And then do you ever try, because there are certain flavors, especially a pineapple milkshake tends to be a focus of several breweries that I've seen because of the most popular dessert at Walt Disney World.
We did one actually last summer when we first opened with our good friends over at Broken Strings. Unfortunately, they closed down. It was called Small World.
I thought they were open again.
That's right. They are open again.
just
New management.
Okay. But the original owners of Broken Strings, we did a collab with them. Pineapple milkshake sour.
Yeah, we're going to keep having fun with that. Hog juice was one that we recently did, so having fun with that. We did
Juan Solo for Cinco de Mayo and Star Wars.
That was a huge hit.
It was jalapeno margarita sour. So
that was a big hit. Yeah, so having fun and referencing anything we can, with that being so close and having fun and keeping that Disney thing going. And
but is it specifically Disney? Because obviously there's a brewery closer to Universal. You ever going to dip your toe in there, or are you going to do people want just Mouse? They're in Celebration, we want Mouse.
We don't get the Universal visitors like we get the Disney visitors.
Interesting.
Yes.
We're good with this location.
And we're very grateful and happy for the people that are coming from Disney and, again, from locals and from wherever they're going to come. We welcome in.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what is coming up next for Celebration Brewing? Are you kind of staying where you are, or is there potential for next steps in any way, shape, or form?
Next steps are distro. We've held back on distribution just because of taproom demands are so great. So we're looking at some options. Again, can't talk about them yet. So you might see our beer other places.
And one fun step for in-house is Frank and I are shopping around, looking at some opportunities for a small canning line for in-house production, and getting these cool names and these wonderful brands up for 4-packs to go from just this location.
Yeah, right now we do crowlers, and it's tedious, and crowlers don't last as long as a nice fresh 4-pack from a canning machine. So.
Absolutely. I'll leave you both with this question, and I'll start with you first. Is this kind of what you expected to be signing on for, or is this even more than you sort of ever hoped for?
It's more. With the craft beer scene where it's at, and locations are tough to get and afford, and be in the right place, even if you have quality liquid. This restaurant, this food ceases to amaze me. Every time I come out to the front of the house and I see food being delivered to a table, every single time I'm like, wow, that looks so good, and it's worth it, and it's done with love and quality, most importantly. But no, I'm really honored to be on board with such a great brand, and our future is just the sky's the limit. But we're going to take it one step at a time.
Awesome. And then
make sure that quality's there, and consistency as well.
And then from a business standpoint, did you ever anticipate this?
No, it's a bit overwhelming, a lot more than I thought it would be. But, we're growing and we're adapting and we're understanding it a little bit better. So, margins are a big deal, again, from the business side of the house. And again, it's not just, sitting here, being a general manager, running a restaurant / brewery. It's planning for the future. It's sales. It's marketing. It's everything, right? So any little thing makes an impact, positive or negative. And so obviously we just want to continue doing better and better and give people what they want.
And talking to itinerant podcasters when they come by.
There you go.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
So there we are, Celebration Brewing, and it's been interesting to watch them grow. They are definitely doing some more stuff. In fact, they just released a collaboration beer they did with Raglan Road, which is at Disney Springs, a very long time, very, very popular Irish pub. We were just there. In fact, if you watch the Florida Beer blog, at floridabeerblog.com, you'll see some beers coming up that they have that are exclusive. Unfortunately, one of those beers is not this exclusive beer that they did with Celebration Brewing. I wish that it was. I'm hoping that maybe they will still have it on tap when we go back, and hopefully I'll be able to get Raglan Road on the podcast as well. I'm definitely excited for that. In the meantime, if you want to find out more information on us and see some of the beers at Celebration Brewing that we tried, I'm going to keep publishing. I've got a couple that are published right now, including Walter Witt, and coming soon is that Super Della Casualistic Crushalani Docious. Haha, I did that off the top of my head. All of that's going to be at floridabeerblog.com. If you want to know when other episodes are coming out, other beer reviews are coming out, make sure to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, everything basically that you can think of. We're not on Blue Sky, we're not on X, but we're on pretty much everything else. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube. Just search Florida Beer Blog, you will find us, unless you're on Facebook, because we're FL Beer Blog there. Obviously, we're at floridabeerblog.com, and we are also at floridabeerpodcast.com. And if you're interested, make sure to check out Flintstone Media. They are our podcast producer. They're fantastic. If you're looking to start a podcast, or if you're a business that wants to create a podcast for your employees or for your clients or for anybody else, Flintstone Media is the place to go. Just check them out at flintstonemedia.com. We are on the podcasting app of your choice. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube, which is a podcasting app platform now, which is amazing. We're on Spotify, iHeart, anywhere you go, just search for the Florida Beer Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us. You'll find out when episode 201 and on down the line when those are going to be released. And you'll get all the latest information. And if you can, give us a nice, big, juicy 5-star review. It really does help us get the word out about Florida craft beer and everything else as easily as we can, and you can be kind of part of the journey, which is awesome. Our intro announcer is Jeff Brozovich. Field producer is Steve Piccola. Executive producer for the Florida Beer Podcast in Grand High Poobah is Jemmy Legagneur. This is David Butler, your host and author. Thank you so much. And I got some more podcasts to edit and some blog posts to write, so hang in there and come join the journey with me and drink Florida craft. Let's be honest with
Delicious dish.
These
Sibyllus. Sibyllus.
I want to see a dessert called Sweaty Balls. No, I want to see a beer called Sweaty Balls. Let's see. Raisin treated oatmeal stout.
Okay.
There we go.
Yes. Dates or raisins? Yeah.
Dates. Dates. Okay, so we're good.
Are we starting?
Yeah. I think we did.
We're
Yep. We already started.
I think
Okay,
we
two.
did.